Pastor asked me to do this tonight, just cover some highlights of some things that we covered last week. We covered 17 different subjects, and we did it in 4.5 days. So there's no way I'm going to attempt to touch on everything that we tried to cover. So I picked 3 areas that I think would probably have some thoughts in there for us to encourage us and to help us. So we'll go through them quickly, then I'll show a few slides on our last trip to Peru. That's really was an exciting trip. It was an exciting trip. So, okay, all right. There it goes. Okay, we covered 17 different subjects. Each day we started with breakfast. We ate well, folks. Then we had a worship service. We had 2 sessions in the AM. Then we had lunch. Okay, then we had 2 sessions in the PM. So it was, we finished at noon on Friday. So we did breakfast and lunch extremely well. So, but the spiritual feeding was even greater than the physical food that we had. Oh yeah, we closed out with lunch. Okay. All right. Okay. Just going to highlight 3 of the subjects. Pauline cycle of planting churches, which is something we're going to be dealing with our next school year as we look at the book of Acts. We're going to look at planting churches foreign and stateside. And then we're going to talk about I just want to share a couple of really thoughts that jumped out at me on doing deputation. The following graph is taken from a planting urban church conference binder that Brother Joe Morrell went to. We're going to look at each of those. There are 10 steps in the Pauline cycle for planting churches. We'll look at them. Okay, so, all right. A long ways up here, okay? So the first step is missionaries commissioned. Remember in Acts chapter 13, when Paul and Barnabas was set aside and to go out, okay? Then they went and they contacted the audiences. And something here that is something that we need to really, really keep in mind to help us. A lot of times, people when they go and they reach out to the poor people. But then the poor people don't have very little money, hardly any money to help support it. So one of the things they recommend is when we go and reach people, go to the middle class and help, because we can always draw the poor in, because Jesus says we'll always have the poor with us. So we just, we need to reach everybody. Okay. When they got there, they got the crowds together, they preached the gospel to them. Then the people were saved because they heard the word. Right? That's the process there. Yeah. And then they congregated together. They planted a church. They organized a church when they went there. We'll be seeing this next year, and I encourage you, if you're able to join us as we take a close look at this next year. Then they confirmed their faith. We have to keep teaching people, you know what? Over and over and over again. One great example is this evening in our adult Bible class. The subject that we were talking about and stuff, there were people were making comments and giving input on the subject that was being dealt with. A question was asked that somebody needed an answer to. And so we were able to do this in the class as we shared with each other. And those things like that help build our faith and strengthen our faith. Okay? Then the leadership is consecrated. We have, one of the things that Paul did everywhere that he went, he found leaders. And he trained the leaders among the congregation that was gathered together. He trained them. Timothy's job in the letters to 1st and 2nd Timothy is that Paul left him in Ephesus to train leaders. In Ephesus, there were a lot of different house churches and all around the city. And so Timothy's job was to train the leaders that were there. Also for Titus, he left them in Crete to find leaders and to train them and place them in the churches that are there. Okay? Believers committed, we have to continually encourage one another, folks. All right? And then relationships. We talked about relationships tonight in our BTC class. We have to develop those relationships. And then they came back together at the Sydney church. And what did the Sydney church do? They sent them out again to go and do more mission. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at in detail. We're going to be looking at this cycle in our next school year as we go through the book of Acts. Because it's really important, folks, for us to understand these principles that we might even do a greater job than what God has been blessing us with so far. Okay. Foreign church planting. There were some very interesting things here. We'll go up there. A foreign missionary needs to start out training his replacement. We talked about two different issues in planting churches on the foreign field. We talked about one aspect of the pastoral aspect where the missionary would go and he would be the pastor there, and maybe when he couldn't do the work, maybe his son or son-in-law or someone like that he would train. But when the family was gone and they grew up, then the work would die because they didn't train people to continue on. And you know what? That's even a principle. Like, for instance, something that we need to encourage and teach Brother Santoyo as he begins the work. He needs to begin looking for a replacement to train him, because we want him to continue planting churches to do that. And so, and that was, I hope this doesn't scare you, but that needs to be something that Brother Tim needs, because you know what? We don't know when the Lord's going to come back. And Brother Tim may not be around for 150 years, although we would like to be around that long. But so that's something that we need to look at and things like that. We need to have our leaders. So if you do not train nationals, when you die, your family dies, the work dies with you. We want in Peru to plant indigenous churches that will plant other indigenous churches, that they will go and go and go, things like this. Okay. Train to reproduce. Any church, and I will make this statement, and this, you may consider this my opinion, but I think that it has been proven out. If churches do not train to reproduce, they die.
That's about right.
They die. I mentioned it this morning. That's one of the subjects going to be dealing with Tuesday, and one of the subjects that the pastor's going to deal with Wednesday night. If we don't train people to reproduce, Jesus talked about in the 15th chapter of John about bearing much fruit. Okay, and the kind of fruit that he's talking about bearing is that we need to reproduce the same kind of fruit we are. We are children of God, and we need to reproduce. Every one of us needs to reproduce. We need to reach other people for Christ. Our church needs to continue reproducing. And I think it's really exciting to me that we're so excited about the North City Baptist Church plant there in Sun Prairie, because that's our grandchild. It's exciting. And listen, folks, we all know, those of us who are grandparents, we know those grandchildren are really special, right? And so, and it's thrilling to have our church represented there with a team this weekend. But that's what we need to do. And you know what's exciting to me, if you'll remember with me and look back, that when Reedsburg first got started, one of their goals is to plant other churches in that area up there. And so now they're planting another church, and they get solid and grounded and established. Then the two of them will be able to work together to plant another church. And that's how it's done. We need to train to reproduce, because if you don't, you die. Okay, stateside church planting. This is something that was stated that I thought was really, really critical and important. Put in place at the beginning what you want it to be at the end. In other words, you need to sit back and say, okay, what do we want our church to be? And so that's one of the things that we have a great opportunity working with Brother Santoyo and the group at Simi Valley is to teach them. It's not about what they are today, it's about what they're going to become. Okay? And so we have to help them. If we don't have that foresight, it's a proven principle, folks. If you don't plan to succeed, you plan to fail. And so that's really, really important. Okay? Need to evangelize. Gee, I think we need to do that because Jesus told us to. Brother Ron talked about commandments this morning in the devotion. Okay? And again, train to reproduce. Train to reproduce. So, in the Puget Sound area, up around Seattle and that area there, they have a group of men that's working, planting churches around it. They call it Surround the Sound program. They're working together and planting churches up in that area there. They went there with a vision to plant churches all around the Puget Sound. And I think there's 5 or 6 of them going on now up there. So they went with the idea to reproduce. Okay, deputation. Just a couple of thoughts about deputation. Announcement is very critical when you do it. And it doesn't matter whether it's a foreign missionary, whether it's a stateside missionary. Like, remember this name. Write it down if you please. I should have put it up here. Blake Parsley. Brother Blake is going to be taking a trip to Peru in July. He's going with Robert Wallace. Brother Lena and I talked to him, encouraged him that when you're there, listen to what's really going on rather than what's being said. And then have a goal of next summer of taking a trip over there with Brother Lynn and Sister Brenda, and they have invited us to go with them so that we can show them the areas where we've been working things. Brother Blake has got, he's in his 2nd year at seminary now, so he has at least 2 more years to finish his bachelor's. And then he's praying about, while he's there, staying to get his master's, and he would just have to do another year. So basically 3 years of schooling left, which is fine, because he's got plenty of time to make preparation and things like that. Okay? And once Brother Blake comes to the decision that he's confident that God wants him to go to Peru, the time to announce that he's going is not as far as starting doing deputation. Is you know, he needs to plan it where it's right so it'll have the greatest impact. People, oh man, he's going to Peru, let's have him come and do this. And, you know, and if he does that too soon before he finishes school, then it's kind of like, well, is he ever going to go? And so it's really important to pronounce. So pray for Brother Parsley. He has a lovely family there. Melissa is his wife's name. And I told him, I said, brother, once you get to the point that you feel confident that God wants you to go to Peru, and part of your preparation, come and visit our church, because we want to encourage you to do that. So pray for them. Pray for them. Okay? Now, as far as announcement, like we have Brother Santoyo that we're going to present tonight to send him to the State Association, pay his expenses out of Faith Promise. So that we can get him there, we have a letter of endorsement we're going to present to the church tonight to ask you to approve, to endorsing him as a missionary of designated funds to the State Association. Okay, so this is the place, and while we're there, we want to introduce him to a lot of the pastors in the state and try to set up appointments for him for deputation. And then Brother Tim and I are going to be working with him. I'll probably be going on some deputation trips with him till he learns how to do the things like that. So going to associations, I've already talked to the pastor about some of the local associations that I usually attend throughout the year, taking him with me to those local associations and things, so that the people, we can get him before the people and they get acquainted with him. Go to as many places as possible to get the word out. You know, like if he's able to go to our local youth rallies, he's there, Brother Santoyo is there, say, hey folks, have you met our missionary, Brother Santoyo? get him out there so the people get acquainted with him. Okay, so that's just kind of some highlights of the things of the 17 subjects of the 36 hours in the seminar that we went through. But those three are things that I felt was probably the most pertinent to us to highlight. Okay, I'm going to show you a few slides about on our trip to Peru this year. It was a very exciting thing. We encountered some experiences this year that we had not encountered before, but that's part of the growing and learning there. Okay, this year we got to go to Peru. We had heard about it, heard about Brother Javier, and so we planned to go there. We tried to make contact with him, let him know that we were coming and wanted to meet him. We were unable to do it, so we planned a day trip on a Wednesday after we got to Iquitos to go there, try to find him, get acquainted with him, and see if we could make arrangements to come back and spend the weekend with them. So it was good. On the way, we had a flat tire. We found out we had no spare. So we had to hitchhike. We were about halfway. We were about halfway there, something like that, between Iquitos and Nauta. So we had to hitchhike, and man, we caught this tour bus. It was really tough, man, riding in luxury seats and AC. And stuff. It was a lot better than that car. Yeah. Now, that man was air conditioned, but I was in the very back seat. Boy, let me tell you what, there are dents in the top of that van. We found Brother Javier. We had lunch with him. Just in case you can't pick him out, that's Brother Javier. You know, he's the big guy there. So, this is a mural that is on the wall of the restaurant that we went to. This was at the church. Brother Javier invited us to stay over and be in services with them on Wednesday night. So this is Brother Javier welcoming us and letting the folks know that we were there. He invited us to come, and so we got to lead out in all of their services through the weekend also. Okay, as Brother Tim, he preached on Wednesday night. Just in case you didn't know, this is Wilson. Unfortunately, Wilson's not able to work with us anymore for a while. We hope that might change because we love him to death. Come on here. Okay, Brother Ron got to preach on Friday night. You know, Brother Ron was his normal, calm self when he was preaching. So, on Saturday, we met with Brother Javier on Saturday morning. He came down to the motel where we were staying, and we spent about 2 or 3 hours with him, just visiting, trying to get better acquainted with him, the things they believe. And his family prepared dinner for us, so we went and spent the afternoon there. And this is the place. It's the place. We learned firsthand that dogs love Brother Ron. I mean, the dog went out of his way to find him and bite him. So, but he got a lot of TLC from that. So I got to teach the adult Sunday school class. Brother Javier told us that one of the issues that they dealt with in there was predestination. And so I taught a lesson on what predestination is biblically. And we gave them some insight. My team helped me out as we were there trying to help them out. This is the children's Sunday school class. You can't see all the kids there. It's a little covered place outside. They have to go out back to get there. Okay. This is in the special. This lady, she did not sing in English, but we knew what she was singing. It was a song we were familiar with, One Day at a Time. So we were sitting there singing with her. So this is all the children. They came and they quoted their memory verses that they had learned that day, and they sang a special. Okay, this is the crowd morning service, the song service. After the song service, the children went out back for a lesson for them, and Brother Craig Okay, Brother Craig preached the Sunday morning service. All right, Sunday night, our team sang a special. We sang it in English, we didn't sing it in Spanish, okay? They probably understood us better in English than if we attempted it in Spanish. So, this is Brother Javier thanking us for coming and spending the time with us. We had a great time of fellowship with them while we were there. Okay, come on here now. All right. Okay, this is our team with Brother Javier and his family, and we were hoping we would get to welcome the new addition before we left, but we had to leave before the little was born. This is Brother Javier's father-in-law. He was the first pastor of this church. He was the pastor of the Maranatha Church when that church decided to plant another church. So he brought a group over, and they planted this church. Since then, Maranatha went Pentecostal, so they don't fellowship with them anymore. This is the front of the building. All right. This is a shot from a distance of the building from the bridge that we had to cross. There, so you see the building there, and then this is the little area where the children. And this is an uptown church because they have an outhouse there. They have an outhouse, yeah. It's on the back there. So you didn't see the outhouse, man? No, yeah, well, they had an outhouse there. Okay. See this line right here? Last year, February and March, they had record rainfall in Peru, and that's how high the water got up.
Wow, that's a gully that goes down.
Yeah, it's a gully down there. It's an inlet from the river there, and the water came up there. Now the yard, it slopes down, so even though the water level got that high on the fence, it was only about that deep in the building. So the building's up there. But Brother Tim, in their trip there this time, said that they have material and stuff. They're going to enlarge their building because they had a lot of people there. So they're going to enlarge the building, and they were going to raise it up higher so that it would the water wouldn't get inside on it if it rained like that again. This is the hotel that we stayed in. Let's see if I kept that one picture there. Yeah. This was, I was standing on the second level there, and I took that picture. I want you to know this is not OSHA-approved electrical work. All right? And it's very funny. See all these things here? People just come in when they want, they just come in and hook in there and run a line to another building. So, this is the local laundromat. This is the little stream that's there. And the reason why there's so many of them there is that one of the ladies had a scrub board. And so they were there with the umbrellas there, and they were all taking turns on the scrub board. This is the local bathhouse. This is where they take their bath. They go down, it looks like they're playing in the water. They are, but they're taking a bath while they're in there.
That's kind of like the church right there, right after church.
Yeah.
They left the church building like and jumped in the river.
Yeah. So, and it was kind of warm, so it probably kind of cooled down there a little bit. So, yeah, this is just one of the streets in Nauta. Nauta is a city of about 350,000. So it's larger than what it appears to be. Okay, this is on our way out. We found out as we were eating breakfast that Monday morning that they were having a transportation strike. Our driver came into town, and they punctured both of his tires. Well, fortunately, he had 2 spare tires that time, so he changed them and went back into town. So we had to hike out over 5.5 miles to go out. And a lot of debris. They were determined that no one was going to transport anybody out of town on that road. Okay. Oh. Okay, this is our farewell to Nauta here. The sign says, "Thank you for coming to Nauta." We said, yeah, a great experience having to walk 5.5 miles to get out of town. So, okay. This is our luxury accommodations in Masan. So, that's our shower there, and that's the shower head, the little cup there. It's also used to put water in the tank there. We thought it was kind of strange, you know, that maybe just in Masan, but we met some folks there. We found out it's kind of a South American thing and no toilet seats that are there. This is the pastor of the Baptist church that we met on our first trip there. And so before we left in the afternoon to go up to Walnut Murico, we went and joined them in services, and we left them some material to study. Very open to the fellowship, to the study, and the things like that. So pray for him. He has Southern Baptist training, but personally, I think he's open to the truth. He was really excited about us leaving the materials and things there for them. Okay, this is his wife and his daughter there. They have a small congregation. That's just some of the folks that were there. Okay, now we're traveling up to Wamanurico, and all along the rivers, whichever river you go, you see villages along the river like this. A lot of places to reach out and preach the gospel to. Okay, this is the gas station on the river. When you're traveling in the motor cars and things, they don't have a whole lot of money, and so they don't fill their tanks up. And as they're traveling, they just pull over to the side of a hut like that, and they'll bring out the real expensive ones cost them about 3 solas, and it's an empty soda bottle, and they take the cap off and pour it off. But most of the time, it's a sandwich bag that has gas, and they just rip it open and pour it into their tank, and they go on. And it's probably what, maybe a quart at the most. I think so. I'm thinking, okay, as long as you get us to where we're going, or they can find another one of these. But so they have them along the river too, because they don't have a whole lot of space to carry a lot of extra fuel, because they want to save room for their products and stuff that they transport back and forth to market. So, and they're 7.5 horsepower engines. They're traveling up the river, so they'll stop and get some more gas to keep going. Okay, this is in Libertal. This is what's left of the building that they had structured or built, that they helped services in. And I think Brother Ron, you preached in there one time?
I did.
And your first time there?
First time I went to Liberton and met Juan.
Yeah.
They asked me to preach, and I got to preach in that building.
So they're going to be building another building. They don't know if they're going to do it in the location of this one here. It's another shot. But the termites had got, so they tore part of it down because they're going to rebuild it. So now they don't know if they're going to rebuild there or go closer into town or into the village and build there. This is Brother John. We find out he preferred to be called John. This is the peacock bass that he went and caught and fixed for dinner that day. So. This is an Amazon rainforest cook stove, folks. And actually, this one here is fixed up a lot nicer than some of the ones we saw. So they just build them a box there and fill it full of sand and put a grill on top of the coals and cinder pots on it, and that's how they cook. Brother Ron getting to preach in Libertal on Saturday evening. He was kind of wandering around holding his Bible, so John has one of these barrels over and he rolls it over. Actually, he didn't roll it, he picks it up and carried it because it was empty. And so a couple of times while Ron was preaching, he was beating on the drum there. So this is John's hut. This is where they live. When the water got up so high last year, it came up just to the bottom of the floor. It didn't get in there, but it came up. And the river was what, about 15 feet lower than that, guys? 15, 20 feet lower than that? And so the water came up that high to the bottom of the house. That's why they built them off the ground so high. Because when the winter...
Brother Glenn, these are our church members, right?
These are our church members, yes.
That's Juan's house.
Yeah, that's his house right there. These are our church members here. Okay, this is the Greenville campsite. And we camped in luxury there. Okay, some of the local wildlife, Brother Mike and Brother Wilson and Pablo were going out to cut him a walking stick, and they came back with that, and we determined that wouldn't work too well as a walking stick. I have a little closer shot here, hopefully you can see it. It's a rainbow boa constrictor. There it is a little bit closer there. Beautiful color, beautiful color. I let Ron and Mike hold it. Yeah, I think Brother Tim let them hold it too. So. Yeah. When they took it back out to the jungle and let it go, he was not a happy camper. He jumped back out. This is our buddy Bronco. Bronco's 4 years old now. He was our free entertainment. We camped out there 3 nights. He was our free entertainment. He's a character. He is a character. You would fall in love with Bronco. This is their sheep that just wanders around. Their cows, their pigs, they just wander around throughout the village. They just go back and forth to the different grazing areas. They never go beyond the village limits. I don't know if there's some kind of radar built into them or something, but so these sheep have just recently matured. This is Pablo. He's been our host 2 years in a row at Santa Marta. He had gone out early that morning. He's building him a new hut. And these are the palm branches that he went and harvested that morning. There's no telling how much that bundle weighs. It was huge. Pablo, I think he's probably smaller than Michael, isn't he? Yeah, he's a small guy, and he was carrying that. But in building this hut, instead of doing wood around the sides like they do a lot of times, he's putting thatch. He's already got the roof.
That's for roofing.
Oh, that one there's for roofing?
They split that and weave it together for the roofing material, and they made sections.
Yeah.
They weave it all together.
The sections they make are about 8 to 10 feet long, or something like that, and they weave it together. We saw last year, they showed us how and they wove it together, and man, they do it very fast. So, okay. This is Brother Craig's specialty. Huh?
It's my creation.
Oh, your creation?
I fell in love with it.
Okay. Yeah. It's goobers with pineapple. That's a huge piece of bread there that we got in the sun of the bakery there. I tell you what, the best pineapple I've ever eaten is what we had in Peru. Yeah. Doesn't that sound really enticing?
1,000 calories.
In each bite, 1,000 calories. Okay. Now this is last year when we went to Waban Urco, we got to go up there real close and we just had to go up to the village. This year the water was way down. We had to hike in 1 3/4 miles one way. And so we started out like this. Had some more mud to traipse through until we got to the pass there. That's me up there. Brother Ron was down below and took a picture. We learned this year that Waban means high place. When we first saw the place on the map, it was listed as Jerusalem. And so last year we asked about it and no one knew. Well, this year we found somebody who knew, and it originally was Jerusalem, but one of the mayors renamed it Waban, which means high place, because it is the highest village that we visited. But Urco is the last name of the first guy to settle there. So they renamed it Waban Urco. Urco's high place. Okay, Brother Tim was thanking them for allowing us to come and spend some time with them. Brother Craig got to preach on Monday night. The children came early. They were there waiting for us. And this is part of the crowd that was there. They were handing out Bibles on that night. And I think this is on Tuesday night, they were handing out the Bibles. We counted it each night, we had services, we had well over 85 people there each night. Yeah, they're out there in the dark behind where Wilson and Brother Ron is, there are people lined up in chairs and stuff out there. Okay, this is another shot of the crowd that was there. I got to preach on Tuesday night. Wednesday morning when we got up to go back to Masan, to go back to Iquitos, it rained all night and the bank washed away. We had, Pablo had fixed up all these nice little logs, nice step coming up there, pretty steep up there, but it had washed away. So we found a place over there to the side, and Mike and Wilson got down, and they were getting water out of the boat, and then we fixed up a slide there, handed the equipment down, and then we had to walk about a quarter of a mile to find another bank where we could get on the boat to go back. So that was an experience we hadn't had before. The transportation strike was an experience we hadn't had before. Okay, this is where we came to meet our boat. So we got there, all kinds of people there, always willing to help, of course, some money to carry our stuff down. We had to walk about 3/4 of a mile down this mud. It was still raining, over a little plank about this wide, over rushing water, and then to go down there, and Brother Craig, with his fancy shoes that he was wearing, he fell down right there just before he got on that bridge, and then when we got to where the boat was, he fell down again. You can change slide. There it goes. Okay, yeah, right there is where he fell down. That's Brother Craig right there. That's just before he fell down the first time. Our boat was right over the other side. We had to go down there to the bank. That's the Amazon River right there. Okay, this is Wilson and his sweet little 10-year-old daughter, Andrea. And she loves to mess with your mind. She wants to help you learn Spanish, but she's just talking 90 miles an hour and laughing because you don't understand her. So she's a sweetheart. Okay, so while we were there, we conducted 7 services, 4 of them in Nauta. In Libertad, we had 1 service and 2 Bible studies. Guamanurco, we had 2 services, and then we attended the 1 service in Masan that Sunday morning before we headed out to Guaman. This is our new church members in Peru, and if you would like a picture of them that you can put on your refrigerator to remind you to pray for them, just let me know and I'll make some available. It'll be next week before I do. But I tell you what, Sister Tina, would you make a list for me? For those who would like it. Okay? So if you would like a picture of that to put on your, see Sister Tina, she'll let me know how many to for you. Okay? All right. Okay. That's it. Would you shut it off back there, please? I personally am extremely excited to see our church doing the things that God is allowing us to do. And I pray that our whole church will get involved through prayer, through encouragement. And just remember, you may not be able to make those trips to Peru. You may not be able to make the trip over to Simi Valley to encourage those folks over there as they're beginning the work of planting a church over there, but you can pray for them. And when you see them, you can encourage them and speak words of encouragement. But remember this, though you may not be able to go over there physically, that doesn't mean that you're not going, because when our teams, when representatives, like in Wisconsin, 5 of our church members were physically able to go. But understand this, folks, our church went to Wisconsin.